More than a century ago, the nation in turmoil with the wave of enlightenment, sweeping the nation and her sovereignty threatened by Western powers and the Japanese Empire. A new history started in Daegu. A seed of hope was planted by 3 people in this dry and barren land, which did not have any proper medical facilities. This seed grew into a forest, then into a hill, and a true miracle. A century of medicine and sharing. The story of Dongsan. The introduction of Western medicine in Korea came along with the spread of Christianity. In 1899, Dr. Johnson, who was carrying out medical mission work in Daegu under the name of American Pharmacy, set up a sign titled Chejungwon on a thatched house located on the site of the First Presbyterian Church and continued his medical mission work. Beginning as Chejungwon, Keimyung University Dongsan Medical Center led the wave of modernization in Daegu, spread Western medicine for the first time in the region, and stayed on the path of medicine for over a century. The missionaries established churches, hospitals, and schools in order to share the Word of God and proclaim the beautiful Christian way of life. This also contributed to the development of the local community. Keimyung University Dongsan Medical Center became a central location for the introduction of Western culture in Daegu. It also became known as Mount Zion of Daegu and the fruit of Jehovah's Jireh. When Chejungwon opened its doors, the country was in a time of chaos with Western powers and the Japanese Empire threatening its sovereignty. There were many lepers and other illnesses like tuberculosis and malaria, and parasites thrived. The first superintendent, Dr. Johnson, was dispatched from the U.S. In 1906, he moved Chejungwon to Dongsan-dong. He began helping lepers, treating endemic diseases, and giving smallpox vaccinations. Through social welfare enlightenment activities, he shared in the suffering and pain of the Korean people. Performing the first C-section in Daegu, he saved a mother and her baby. He also selected medical students and taught Western medicine to them for the first time. Through Chejungwon, many significant events took place for the first time in Daegu. At the same time, apple trees that Dr. Johnson planted for the first time played a key role in turning Daegu into a city of apples. With the inauguration of the second director, Dr. Fletcher, in 1911, Chejungwon was renamed as Dongsan Christian Hospital. Remarkable changes took place in the services and operations of the hospital since 1927. Despite challenging environment under the Japanese rule, the hospital developed into a general hospital with specialized departments, treating over 1,000 inpatients and 5,000 outpatients per year. Expansion of the outpatient clinic was initiated in several stages to meet the increasing number of patients. Internship program was introduced, while the establishment of a pathology and X-ray rooms led the scientific development of diagnostic medicine. Full-force efforts were also made to help lepers. This was the beginning of current-day Eragwan, a recuperation center for leprosy patients. Welfare services were provided for children, and a training center was set up for nurses. which developed into today's nursing school. The greatest accomplishment of Dongsan Christian Hospital was the medical mission work. In order to spread the gospel to patients, a mission group was formed with the participation of all the employees, and 147 churches were planted. They also provided medical services in remote villages that had no access to doctors and shared the gospel. This practice of love, which started with the employees contributing 1% of their wages, continues even to this day through Dongsan Medical Mission and Welfare Association, and it is the driving force of the unchanging spirit of Dongsan Hospital. With the outbreak of the Korean War, the hospital acted as a police hospital. The prosthetics department helped many people who lost their arms or legs during the war. This was a new turning point for the hospital. In order to meet the increasing demands for medical care after the war and to contribute to the development of the hospital, doctors and employees went to the US to study advanced medicine and hospital administration. It was an innovative educational program at the time. In addition, the first children's hospital was established in Korea, and war orphans were treated for free. The hospital provided more free treatment than any other institution in Korea and earned a great reputation for providing medicine that were not available in other parts of the country. The seventh superintendent, Dr. Moffat, was inaugurated in 1949 and served for 45 years. During his service, he accelerated the modernization of the hospital by expanding and building new facilities and introducing modern medical equipment. Dr. Moffat's development plans and fundraising efforts are still an unforgettable story to remember. Dr. Moffat and his wife sent letters to many churches and Christian organizations, mainly in the US and Germany, to raise funds for the construction of the present medical center. As a result, an extraordinary amount of funds was raised, and with modern buildings and welfare facilities, the hospital became an advanced hospital that was envied by other hospitals around the nation. The medical technology of Dongsan Medical Center developed significantly during the 60s and the 70s. The first cardiac resuscitation in the nation was carried out, in addition to radioactive iodine treatment, epidural spinal anesthesia, and tendon grafts for the hands and feet of lepers. The hospital was the first to provide radioactive treatment of cancer in the non-metropolitan area. A pathological school was established, and specialists were invited for the different departments so that the medical staff could acquire advanced technology without going overseas. Mission work and volunteer activities were carried out more active during this time. Restoration efforts took place to repair the damages from the war, and clinics were opened in underprivileged areas where doctors were not available. Later, the hospital began to extend its medical mission work to overseas countries such as Thailand and Japan. The hospital took a new leap in the 1980s. By merging with Keimyung University, a representative educational institution in the Yeongnam area, a medical school was established. Dongsan Medical Center was reborn as the nation's greatest medical institution that could provide both education and research in addition to medical treatment and mission work. As Dongsan Medical Center was first established by American missionaries about a century ago, the hospital started to provide medical services to overseas countries in the 1990s to return the debt of love. Starting with Kazakhstan and Bangladesh, the medical center is providing its services all around the world, including Nepal, China, the Philippines, Ethiopia, and Laos. The missionaries' residences built in the early 1900s stand in its original form, representing the spirit of the missionaries who devoted their lives to Koreans. Even after their death, many of these missionaries wished to be buried in Korea instead of returning to their home country. These missionaries who wished only to sleep in peace according to their epitaph were the seed of love. Dongsan Medical Center stands today because foreign missionaries traveled across the ocean, even in the midst of poverty and chaos, to spread the gospel and medical technique in Korea. Since its establishment in 1899, 147 churches established, treatment provided in villages with no doctors, and overseas medical volunteer activities. Ke명 University Dongsan Medical Center now takes hold of the spirit of love, which was a driving force for the last century, as it steps into opening a new century of medical practice by gaining a worldwide reputation as a global hospital. Isn't this amazing? It was all God's work. In our human eyes, it is a miracle.